Again, good day. As I was saying, it's my privilege to welcome my dear friend, Igbuan Okaisobor. We're childhood friends. Although you wouldn't know it by how much he's accomplished, you'll wonder what happened to me. Igbuan Okaisobor is a civil engineer and entrepreneur. He is the Chief Executive Officer of Construction Kaiser Limited, leading Nigerian building and civil engineering company that he founded about 30 years ago. So Igbuan started CKL, which is Construction Kaiser Limited, from his living room with a modest team of 5 employees and grew it into one of the major indigenous players in this industry. In 2020, he was a finalist at the Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year, West Africa. He has a background as a project manager at KBD Limited and brings a wealth of experience to his leadership roles. He also serves on notable boards and organizations, including his current role as the president of the Nigerian-German Chamber of Commerce, as well as being a member of the governing council of the Lagos State Employability Support Project, an initiative of the Lagos State government and UNDP. He's a fellow of the Nigerian Institution of Civil Engineers and the Nigerian Society of Engineers. Igbuan is a staunch advocate for ethical business practices and consistently demonstrates that it is possible to operate with integrity in the construction industry. His dedication to integrity was recently recognized when he was selected and honored as a model of integrity by Luxterra in collaboration with the MacArthur Foundation, one of the world's largest independent foundations. So with that said, will you please use your emojis and welcome Igbuan on my behalf and make him feel at home. Igbuan, welcome. It's a privilege.
Thank you. Thank you so much, and thank you for your kind words, your kind introduction. Chudi was a few years ahead of me in school, and he's always been a good person. So I'm not surprised that he's doing what he's doing. Chudi is someone who always looked out for the younger ones, and he has carried it on in life. People who look out for others, they can't change. It's in their DNA. That's just who they are. So Chudi, thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm going to mute. All right. All right. Clemens, please, can you mute yourself? I muted you just now. Okay, I muted again. All right, so we know the bane of Africa. There's a lot of corruption in Africa. People are unhappy with the way we live our lives, the way business is carried on both in the public and private sectors. And it's very sad when you see our children leaving the countries, leaving the continent, because they feel that there's no hope, that there's no merit, that there's so much corruption, and you wonder where it's going to end. It's going to take you and I to make it end, to start chipping away, start reducing the corruption. It's not one man's job. It takes you and I. So what I'm going to talk to you about today is just share my story, how I've lived my life, how I've run my business. And I hope you will have some takeaways from it. So I'm going to move into presentation mode. All right, let me just, let me go in. Okay, can you still see my screen? Judy, can you see my screen?
Yeah. We see your screen, Igbuan.
Thank you so much. All right. So a little bit about me. Like Trudy said, I'm an engineer. I'm passionate about Nigeria and her youth, not just Nigeria, even Africa. I've had the chance to privilege to speak in some other countries in Africa. And as a business, we promote a shared value strategy where a company strives to make profits and at the same time make social impact. So they go hand in hand. That's what we believe, at least. I'm the founder and CEO of Construction Kaiser Limited. We've been running this business for over 3 decades. Founder of Kaiser Foundation for Social Development and all the other ones. And one thing Trudy didn't tell you, that I love golf. I love to play golf. All right. All right. So let's talk about this industry of ours. Construction industry is known to be an industry that has big ticket projects all over the world. A lot of money is spent on infrastructure, spent on buildings. So it's a good place. I mean, it's an attractive place to be corrupt because there's a lot of money that exchanges hands. And then another part is that a lot of the projects in those sectors, most of the time, they're government initiative. And something people don't know, it's a low margin business, unless, of course, you are cheating. So when they cheat, some people make up to 40%. Some people get paid and they don't even do any job. So they make 100% profits and they share with their cronies. And of course, it's bad money. So we see collusion. We see inflated contracts. We see bribes exchanging hands. And a lot of you, I'm sure you imagine that this is the only way to do business. At least so I heard when I was about to start my business. They tell you that, oh, if you don't deal, nobody will come back to you. If they give you one job, we're in the business of contracting. So we don't create our own jobs. We rely on our clients to give us projects. So they tell you, oh, if you don't go and say thank you, or if you don't do deals, they won't come back to you. Well, I've been on this journey for 30 years. I don't know how much coming back they need to come back. So that just gives you an idea of how untrue that is. All right. The big question, the big elephant in the room, can you run a business ethically in Nigeria? Some people tell you it's impossible. And I don't blame them for saying so. But I'm here to prove to you that this is a life we've lived. This is what we've done, tried and tested, and we can tell you that it's possible. So, I hadn't been to business school. I was young. I was 27 years old. But I knew what I did not want to get involved in. So as we all know, some of us have had training in strategy. Strategy is about your products, your services, what markets you want to serve them, how you want to go about delivering value to your customers. But more importantly, it's about what you don't want to do. So you build the boundaries and say, I'm happy to do everything else except this. You need to decide what you don't want to do. That's very important. So when selecting the kind of business you are going into, unfortunately, I'm going to use Nigeria as an example. We know that the ports are very corrupt. So if you want to do a business with integrity, you want to do your business, you can't go and be a clearing and forwarding agent because it's difficult for you to do business ethically if you are dealing with the ports every day. So in selecting your products, your services, your clientele, if you want to do business with integrity and you say you want to work with governments, it's going to be tough because you're going to face the same challenges every day. We know public sector is quite corrupt. I'm not saying the private sector is not. Private sector is quite corrupt too, I can tell you. So from the beginning, we chose our clientele. We chose who we wanted to do business with. We knew who we did not want to do business with. We knew what we did not want to get involved in. Now, at this point, I want to say something. Why did I choose this path? It has a lot to do with my upbringing. I grew up in a home where my father was the first general manager of the Midwestern State Water Board. He started the water board in the Midwestern State in Nigeria in 1965 or thereabouts. And he shared his experience with me many times. So I grew up in a home where the values were imbibed in me from the beginning. And he explained to me how corruption destroys a society. When merit is thrown to the dogs, when everything is only about how much you can pay, a society can never grow. Never. I just explained to you, that's why we have our youth leaving the continent. They want to go where there's some structure, where there's some predictability. You do this, this is the return you expect. You do this, this is the return you expect. But when money changes hands, then it's no more predictable. There's no more merit. There's no more fairness. Are we going to just throw our hands up and say, it's okay, we continue to live like this? I don't think so. And I've chosen to be an advocate. I've chosen to be in the forefront of this fight against corruption. And I don't pretend about it. I don't hide the way I feel about it. I'm happy to talk about it publicly like I'm doing now. And you imagine that some clients will refuse to do business with us because of that. Well, that's fine. But I'm here to prove to you again that more clients have chosen to do business with us because of our stand. All right. So the first public sector project we did was when the company was 24 years old. The project is complete. We didn't pay bribes. Not that we're not asked to pay, but we refused to pay. And here's my experience. When you refuse to pay, you are ready to wait it out, they get tired and they leave you alone. Honestly. And you build a reputation as a business that does not deal. And I'm sure some of you here who are Nigerians, you know how the Nigerian police are. Once they stop you at a checkpoint and they ask you for money and you refuse to pay, when they get tired of you waiting, they will let you go. I've had situations where I was held unjustly by police, and rather than give them a bribe, I asked them if they could take my car if they wanted. I checked into a hotel in Warri, and I slept in the hotel. And the next day, I told them I would rather pay the money to the hotel rather than give them money. So when they know that you have taken this stand, they're going to let you be. All right. So today we have a staff strength, permanent staff strength of about 120. We have many repeat clients, companies we've done business with for over 10 years, some up to 20 years. And for the past 30 years, we've created value across different sectors, contributing to national development. We've done business in maybe about 23, 24 states out of 36 states in Nigeria. And we'll continue to spread our footprint. On the 13th of September, 2017, we sat down and we asked ourselves in a management meeting, how are we going to strengthen the business? Because to strengthen your business and create value over time, governance needs to be right. Quality needs to be right. So you need to do whatever you need to do to improve on those things. And we took some decisions. We're going to review and modify our reward systems so that the company will be more attractive for employees to work. We knew that as Nigerians, we probably were not very strong technically. So we recruited a technical advisor from Germany who up to now works with us remotely. Corporate governance, we installed a board, very strong board, who I tell you that I respect very much. And they actually tell me what to do. Audits done by Ernst & Young. If you want to do business, you want to have collaborators, you want to have partners, they need to be sure that whatever you say in your financials are correct. We have a management training scheme. We got ISO certified, I think, in 2018. We have an ISO certification. We recruited a head of HR, so that we can strengthen welfare, hiring, we can hire the right people, performance management, Those are things we want to improve on. We recruited the head of technology. So safety training for a construction company, that's very important. So these are some of the things we did. I could go on and explain all these things to you. We built partnerships with Lafarge and Perry. Lafarge is an international company, Lafarge Holcim. They work in over 100 countries. Perry works in over 80 countries. They're a German company. So if you say you want to improve technically and you want to adopt global best practices, you need to pitch your tent and collaborate with people who have been there and done that. Very important. And then for your business to be successful, you have to have succession planning in place. So when I spoke about all this to my friend at Ernst & Young, he told me, say, you know what? It looks like you're preparing for an IPO. What did that mean to me? It didn't mean that we're going to sell the company, but it just meant we're strengthening the company to make it attractive for others. All right, so these are some of the projects we've done. Just want to explain to you that you can actually do big things without giving bribes. This is John Randall Center for Yoruba Culture and History. This project has been featured on CNN, and the architect is even in a world architectural competition right now. It's in the finals for this job he's done. I mean, I'm sure you see it and you like it. This is Lapo Microfinance Bank. It's an 8-story building somewhere in Lagos. Looks good, doesn't it? You know, so these are some of the projects we've done. This is an agri project. We're just finishing it up in Edo State right now in Nigeria. We built power plants with the NIPP, with the Nigerian government. Well, with Marubeni of Japan. Marubeni of Japan contracted with the Nigerian government, and we worked with them to build these power plants. 460 megawatts power plant in Sapele, 580 megawatts power plant in Calabar. They are gas-fired power plants. This is Ikoyi Plaza, 3,800 square meters on how many floors? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 floors. That's a huge building. This is Panda Agric Novum. It's a farm. It's farm infrastructure. We did this in Nasarawa State. We did this during COVID. So I'm going to share my experience with you. So I said this, we're going to do storytelling. There's no better way to share our experiences and to teach than to just tell you how we've practiced. I will try not to give names. I will leave the names out, but I will tell you real life stories of what happened. So we're doing this major project with an international company. And you expect that international company to act with integrity. You know, they gave us an advance payment, and then we're supposed to be having valuations every month where they'll pay some more money. The first month, we submitted an invoice, and the accountant called me that he wanted to know our account details. I said, the account details are on the invoice. He left me alone. Next month, he called again. I said, the account details are on the invoice. And then the next time I visited the office, he saw me and he called me, saying he wants to speak to me. And I went to speak to him. He said, are you not a Nigerian? I said, I might be a Nigerian, but now I'm not a typical Nigerian. He said, you are supposed to know that you should pay something when you get paid. I said, we don't do that. I'm sorry. That's not how my company is set up. And that's not what I'm going to do. Now, I want to explain this to you, that people who you imagine have a control over whether you are paid or not, they probably don't have a control. They are trying to just take advantage of their position. They probably can't stop your payments from coming in. And of course, Marubeni wanted their projects done. I'm sorry, I slipped on that. Client wanted their projects done, and they continue to pay every month. So the person who was supposed to be a gatekeeper, who gave us the impression that he could stop our payment, he didn't really have the power to do it. And we finished that project successfully. So what do I say to you? It's not every time somebody comes to you and claims to have the power to stop your payments that he does have the power to stop your payment. He doesn't have it. Because the client wants their job done. Don't forget. And if you don't get paid, they can't get their job done. So a lot of times, that people come to you and pretend like they have the power to stop your payment. They can't. In fact, I can tell you that sometimes you might already have scaled pre-qualification, and then one of the employees sees your name that you've scaled pre-qualification, and he picks up the phone and reaches out to you that, oh, you know what? If you pay me so amount of money, I will ensure you are pre-qualified. Because he has access to information. Not because he has the power to do anything. And then if you're not strong enough, you go ahead and you make a deal with him. You forget that your track record has already made you scale the pre-qualification, not that person. And so you go ahead and pay money for nothing and compromise your integrity. So sometimes it's good to lose. I can tell you that. To lose honorably. And when you win, you know you win honorably. So I'll give a case B. We were tendering for a job. We won the job, but the client had a concession on the piece of land where we're supposed to build this building. And the manager who we're dealing with in this company called me and said we needed to put some money aside, add some money to the contract, big money at that time for government officials. And then I asked him, is your boss aware of this? Oh, no, please don't tell him, don't tell him, don't tell him. I said, because if you're asking me to set money aside, I'd like to tell your boss about it. I'd like to confirm for him. Oh, no, don't talk to him about it. At the end of the day, we didn't need to pay anything to anybody. The job went on. Okay? So, these are examples. I'm going to the third one. I was on my way to the US for Christmas to spend time with my children. So I was in London transiting, and I got a phone call from someone who works in a Fortune 500 company, asking that we set some money aside to pay a bribe. And I said, no. Well, I didn't say anything to him. I just listened to him, and I continued my journey. I never flew from London to Atlanta. I arrived at Atlanta. I got a phone call from another company who I just tendered for work for. And then I got home and I saw my wife and I said, you know what? I was so sad because we needed the work. She said, well, you know what to do. Refuse to pay. So what am I saying? It's very important that the people in your life are people who share your values. Because if there was tension between my wife and I over this, if my wife was saying, why don't you go ahead and pay it and get the project so that we can live a better life? Then I start to struggle. But luckily for me, I have a wife who shares values with me. So decision making is not difficult. We say no, and that's it. We lost both projects, but we're happy we lost those projects and maintain the ethical standards. All right. Next story. I was coming from South Africa sometime in 2018. And while I was in South Africa, I had dinner with a friend at a restaurant where you have a lot of beef, steak and ribs. And I enjoyed the meal. And he said, you know what, you can actually buy some and take some with you. They have the raw, there's a butchery next door to it. So they said they can buy some. And I said, fine, how would I store it? So they will leave it in the freezer for you, pick it the next day on your way to the airport. I thanked him. He paid for the meat for me. It was about $200. As I arrived at the airport in Nigeria, well, on the plane, let me start with that. On the plane, there was a lady sitting not too far from me, and I noticed she was struggling to pull out her tray. And I went up to her. I said, you know what, I was feeling very cool. I'm going to help you do that. I'm going to help you deal with it. And I tried and I failed. It was a bit embarrassing. I said, I'm an engineer. I'll fix it for you. I couldn't. And then the cabin crew came, and then there was this crew stuck in there, and they pulled it up. And so we started chatting. I realized she worked in the same office with my sister. And she said, how come your sister has never told me that you run a construction company? I said, well, in our family, that's how we behave. We're always very straight. Anyway, we arrived in Lagos. So as the bags were coming on the conveyor belt, I saw this cooler bag, which was given to me at the butchery. And as soon as I picked it, I realized it was much heavier than mine. And I looked at the tag, I saw it wasn't mine. A few minutes later, mine came on the conveyor belt. I picked mine. As I was about to leave the airport, some people stopped me, looked at them and said they are from Ministry of Agric, that I should, that it's illegal to bring raw meat into the country. Well, I didn't know, to be honest. And this other guy who had the bigger bag from the same place, same butchery, came and they said the same thing. They held him. And then a few minutes later, they let him go. He was walking away with his. And I said, you know what? I'm going to walk away with mine. And he said, sorry, you can't. That they have to seize them. But as I found out later, it's not illegal to bring meat into the country. What they need to do is to test the meat, and you pay for the test to make sure you're not bringing in any infected meats. And once you find out it's not infected, you can actually go in with your meat. But they seized the meat from me because I refused to pay a $15 bribe. Now, this lady I met on the aircraft, I had offered to give her a ride home, and she saw everything that happened, and she was shocked. Are there really people like this in Nigeria who refuse to pay a $15 bribe and they will give up meat of $200? I would rather do that than pay the bribe. That was a Friday. On Monday morning, I got a call. Apparently, they were having problems with a contractor they had just hired. The contractor had not even moved to site and was already asking for more money beyond the contract sum. So they wanted to get rid of him. And what was the problem? Because this contractor lacked integrity. First things first, they came straight to us, and then they had a chat with us. And then the man asked me, he said, am I a pastor? I said, I'm not a pastor. He had heard already that we don't pay bribes. That was our reward for not paying a $15 bribe. At that time, within 6 weeks, we were awarded one of the biggest contracts we had ever achieved, we had ever obtained. And then we did that job and we made some money from it. So what am I saying? Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Okay? Now, sometime in 2010, or I can't remember, yeah, about that time, we had some problems with the tax authorities, like everyone does. Almost every business has problems with tax authorities. It's difficult to be spot on and get everything right. I must confess, at this time, we're not very knowledgeable about tax laws. So I would say we ran foul of the laws and we're hit with a huge fine. At that time, it was about $1 million. At that time. And then somebody came to us, one of the employees came to us and said, you know what? With 20% or 15% of this money, we'll close this matter for you. And nobody will ever hear about it. I told them no. Did we have the $1 million? We didn't. We took a loan and we're paying this tax over time with the penalties. We asked for 1 year to be able to pay back. It would have been easy to pay 15% of this amount of money and just walk away. But we chose to pay. Now, here's what it does for you. When you do the right thing, nobody can come back at you tomorrow. But if you pay 15% illegally, and that person you paid to is moved from that office, somebody else comes in, he can reopen that case and you'll be forced to pay the full amount again. So it's a choice. You want to pay 15% and live with the guilt? So what we started doing after that time, we hired Ernst & Young. And I tell you what we do. Ernst & Young faces the tax authorities. They do all the negotiations on our behalf. And they know Ernst & Young, being an international company, they don't pay bribes. But they expect that we will pay bribes. So we don't show up. We don't get involved in any negotiations. We leave them with Ernst & Young, and whatever they come up with, we pay. I can tell you that every Monday by 12 noon, I receive all the tax reports on my desk. After that incident, we got the Federal Inland Revenue Service to train our staff, both managers, finance staff, on different taxes and how they are applied to our business and how to make sure we don't get into trouble again. It was a full day event. So since then, we haven't had reason to discuss bribes with tax authorities. We do our work, we pay our taxes, and we don't have a problem. By the way, one lady who worked in the FRS, the Inland Revenue Service, came to me one day, and of course was asking for money, and I told her we don't pay. And then when she was leaving, she said, oh, that she has a daughter, that she would like to bring the daughter to my office. I said, fine. She was an engineer. So she brought the daughter to my office and begged me that she please help her employ her daughter. And then you know what I told her? I said, because of the bribes you take, you are destroying companies. The employment opportunities for your daughter are limited because you are destroying the companies rather than help build the companies in Nigeria. Unfortunately, I couldn't help her, and I don't know where her daughter is right now. I offered to mentor her. I had some mentoring sessions with her. I even gave her a couple of books as gifts, but we didn't employ her. And I don't know if she's working right now. So when we do these bad things, they actually come back to haunt us some way or the other. If all of us decide that we're not going to do this anymore, society will be a better place for everybody. All right. There's even a more recent incident where we're expecting one project. We're fighting for one project. And then somebody from the organization who was in charge of this process asked that, we should let him know our price before we submit. And I asked myself, I said, why? It's a competitive bid. Why should I let him know our price? Why? On the day of submission, he was calling me frantically. I was in Atlanta. I was in USA. I was playing golf that day, I remember. He kept calling. I ignored him, and I submitted without telling him. And guess what he did? He tried to write the reports and told lies about us, tried to skew us out of the process. I made some phone calls and I had the opportunity to meet the head of the organization, and I told him everything that happened. Luckily, I saved some of the chats that he wrote to me. He was fired. And guess what? Rather than award us one job, we awarded 3 to our shock and surprise. A few days to Christmas, we awarded 3. What am I saying? Some clients are looking for companies of repute. They want to know that their money is being used properly. I know sometimes we're under pressure to pay. We feel that we're losing something at that time by not paying. But I think on the long run, we're better off not paying. So after doing business for 30 years, over the last maybe 15 years, maybe from when we're 10 to when we turned about 25, we used to have these conversations in management meetings. People say, oh, you know what? Because we don't pay bribes, that's why we don't get projects. Things are difficult. We're not able to pay salaries. We're struggling to pay salaries. And I say, you know what? We've come this far without paying bribes. What more do we want? We're 30 years old. How many businesses last up to 30 years? 80% of businesses don't make it beyond the 5th year. Here we are, over 30 years. Why do we need to pay bribes? For me, there's no reason. So you win some, you lose some. Stay true to your values. Bribes don't guarantee success. We try to improve our processes, improve our way of doing business, and that's what has been guaranteeing us success. That's what has been giving us more and more jobs over the years. Okay? So building long-term relationships with your clients and building trust is more important than giving money. All right? So how to succeed in integrity? You must lead by example. People watch what you do, not what you say. You tell people not to pay bribes and you go behind them and go and pay bribes. They will collect bribes in your business and ruin your business. I can tell you that. I've seen that happen so many times. So lead by example. Make sure that you are transparent in the way you carry out your business, and your employees and your partners will learn from you. I can tell you that a lot of people who work with me, they've learned that they can do business with integrity. Focus on excellence. Let your last job be the key to your next job. Companies are increasingly looking for honest contractors to work with. Tell your story. Share, like I'm sharing with you today. Rather than give money to employees, give money to the community. Create shared value such that you generate goodwill in your community. And even sometimes they fight for you. They will fight for you when you are being maltreated. So, creating shared value, we have a foundation that helps to execute our shared value projects, our community projects, and this is some of the things we do. Breast cancer awareness. We have young people we train, students that we train on our sites. That way, we create shared value for community. So set your boundaries because they define your business. Integrity strengthens your relationships and you build a reputation of trust. You can succeed in tough markets. Nigeria is a tough market. Africa is tough. Construction Kaiser is a proof that you can do business with integrity. So I haven't told you stories that I read in books. I have told you stories that I have lived through. They are true stories. I say this to a lot of entrepreneurs. Bribery cannot be a source of competitive advantage. It's not sustainable. You keep paying, you keep paying, you keep paying, and it never stops. But when you build your business on a strong foundation, on a foundation of excellence, clients will look for you. They will look for your products, and you continue to be successful over the long term. Please connect with me on LinkedIn and Instagram. I'll take your questions now. Thank you.
Thank you, Igbuan. That's quite inspiring and motivating. Hopefully, the rest of you got as much value as I got out of listening to that. Very inspiring. Questions. I'm sure you must have a ton of questions. This is the time when you, or comments, whatever's on your mind, either use the chat or unmute and let us know what's on your mind.
I'm happy to take your questions. I want this to be as interactive as possible. I didn't want to spend too much time talking. I wanted you to be able to, tell me, share your experience and ask questions. It's tough sometimes. Really, sometimes I have to now talk to some of my friends. I have, how do I put it? People who inspire me. You understand? So sometimes when I get into difficult situations, I pick up my phone and call and say, look, this is the situation I'm facing. How do you think I should navigate it? And I get advice and I get support. And I tell you, I've stood strong because of the support I get from like-minded people. So, who is Eagles Networks?
Cassandra?
Yeah.
All right, Cassandra, let me hear from you.
So as you were talking about integrity, I believe that you have just answered a certain question for me, which has been on my mind for long, and which I've been battling with. It has possibly been giving me some nightmares for a few months now, and that's with the tax. So we are a small business running here in Ghana, and there were some taxes that we were not aware of. But you see, we are in a jurisdiction where people intentionally will not tell you things so that you fall for it, and then they come and they hit you. Because I'm the kind of person who wants to play by the book. So I will go to them, I'll say, I need to learn this, show me that, not knowing that they were rather leading me wrong so that there will be penalties. And that's exactly what had happened. And now we have like a huge amount that we're supposed to clear. So I went to them. I don't hide from them. I'm the one that went to them and say, okay, fine. What are the terms? Could I pay it over a period of time? And they've given me just a short period of time to pay it. I said, how do you expect me to pay this? It means that then you're telling me to close down the business. I'm not going to close down my business. So let's find a way out. But my question to you is, if you live in an environment where the people are bent on crucifying you, I mean, to what extent or at what point do you say, you know what, I'm going to just play you by your own terms, because sometimes it's a game. And I was given another example is, for example, the police here in Ghana. they will waste your time. Over a small issue, they will waste your time. I've lived outside Ghana before. I know that there are penalties for different offenses. These people can go and take a higher penalty for that your small offense just because you refuse to give them 1 cedi or 2 cedi. So as a person of integrity, and I hold my integrity very high, when it comes to certain situations, I'm like, you know what, just take. I don't want your trouble. Make her go. Because they will waste your time. They will let you go and sit in their police station. So my question is, at what point do you just conform to the environment you're in so that you will have some peace?
All right. Thank you very much. I have a friend who motivates me a lot along these lines. His name is Soja Pampa. And by the way, we have soft skills training. In fact, the next one is coming up next month. I will ask you to join. He will speak there. He talked about the boiled frog syndrome. Have you ever heard of the boiled frog syndrome? Who has heard about it?
No, I haven't.
Judy, have you heard about the boiled frog syndrome?
Yes, I have.
Please tell them about it.
So there is a frog that's put in a pot of water, and gradually you put it on heat. You start to turn up the heat and heat up the water and watch the frog to see how it reacts initially. Initially, it's comfortable until the heat gets beyond what they can tolerate before it eventually jumps out of the pot to that degree. So what it's trying to say is there is a certain level they're trying to push you to beyond to break. It's all about trying to break your will and break your resolve. And they're trying to see how far or what do they need to do to get what they want. So it's all about who outlasts the other.
Okay. So let me add to that, Judy. Frogs are cold-blooded. Their body adjusts to the surrounding, to the heat. So that frog, the body is changing along with the heat. He doesn't know there's anything wrong until the frog is cooked alive. So what am I saying to you? If you continue in this environment, you'll be cooked alive. If you continue to allow the environment be the way it is, you will not feel that there's something wrong. You are boiling in water, but you don't realize it. And you get cooked if you don't start putting a stop to what's going on. A lot of times, like Trudy said, it's going to test your resolve. I give an example. You must be willing to pay that price. Pay that price. It's very easy to take the easy route. You pay and then you move on. Oh, you just pay and then you move on. It's easy. Who is going to change the country for you? For your children, who's going to change the country? Are they all going to run to Germany and the US to go and live? I'm asking you. You need to ask yourself that question. So you must join. You must become an advocate and say to yourself, I want to change my country. And I tell you there's reward for it. I just gave you an example of how we awarded 3 projects. We were almost losing one that we were struggling for. We were struggling for one. We are at the brink of losing it. And the client found out that these guys are honest. Do you know what happened? This project is supposed to even be tax exempt. So when we submitted our bid, they made a mistake in the analysis. They didn't take up the taxes. We wrote them a letter and said, please, our bid is not 12 naira, it's 10 naira. Please remove the 2 naira. And they said, really? Somebody is asking that you are about to overpay him? I said, no. These guys are honest. These are the kind of people we should work with. We got 3 jobs. We're expecting only 1. We got 3. So it's easy to just keep quiet and take the extra 2 naira. What am I saying? That there's a sacrifice we must make. When you make that sacrifice, there's reward at the end of the tunnel. Trust me. It might seem like at the beginning that you're losing something. But at the end of the day, you're going to gain more. I've lived it for 30 years. I can tell you. Okay? So, sorry, is it Cassandra, is that your name again? Or
Yeah, Cassandra. And
Cassandra.
about the tax, to be honest,
I
from
want to
what
talk to you about that. I want to
yes,
talk to you about that. Remember what I said, that we got the people in the FRS, the Inland Revenue Service, to come and train us, right? So when they trained us, we now became more knowledgeable about taxes. So we couldn't get into trouble again. And guess what? They even became our friends. After they came to spend the day training us, we became friends. So they couldn't even ask me for money again. Do you understand? So you can build relationships when they ask you to, and even you as a woman, I'm sorry, I'm sure you face sexual harassment too. Am I correct? It's part of it now. Bribe is not only cash, it's also in kind.
yes, so
As a woman, so what do? They tell you pay, and then you go ahead and pay in kind? No. As the man is talking to you, pretend like you don't know what he's talking about. You're laughing with him. You know, you're my uncle. You know, you're my uncle, sir. And you just play with him. So really, that's the way to play the game. You become friends with them, you get what you want, and move. Are you not going to sleep with a man because you want business from him? You shouldn't. So bribe doesn't only come in cash, it comes in kind also. Okay? So you have to maintain your integrity. Cash and kind. You have to. You're a woman. I'm sure a lot of you may face the same problem. You face it. All offices, businesses, you face that problem. You need to stand firm. Honestly.
So
All right.
there is Michael raising his hand. Michael, you want
Michael.
Yes. Hi, Mr.
Hi, Michael.
Okaisobor. Thank you so much for the opportunity to, have a chat with you.
My pleasure.
Why I was particularly excited about talking to you today was that construction is one of those sectors in the economy here in Kenya that is always growing, it's always developing, and it has a potential for imparting skills into youth, and it also has creates lots of employment opportunities.
Absolutely.
So when I joined Africa 2100, despite the fact that my main project is clean technology, clean cooking, I had hoped that I would do my next step into construction, because one of the points in our country that has a big failure is infrastructure when it comes to roads. And I did a lot of research, and I just wanted to know from your perspective in Nigeria, because probably the differences are not as big. What would be your advice to someone who wants to start, especially doing road patching? What would be your advice to such a person?
Somebody wants to start what?
Road patching, basically road repair.
Oh, road patching.
Yes.
In Nigeria, because of security and sometimes a lot of community issues, you move from location to location, and you're going to have problems all the way. Do you understand? So I would not go into road patching, because there's so much trouble. You are dealing with so many communities.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Do you have that problem? Do you have those security? Yes.
Here, it's not really as much of a problem. For us, it's corruption, definitely. Because the roads, like, for example, where I'm currently living, are controlled by the county government. So you have to go through so many loopholes to get the contract to do, those kinds of repairs.
Okay. There was something I said to you at the beginning. I don't know whether you were here, Michael. When I talked about strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Good. So if you are getting involved in a sector that you know that is very corrupt, and there's no way you can succeed without compromising your integrity, then why go into it? Okay. That's probably not a business to go into. Because in any business, you have to look at your environment, your context. You look at the risks and the rewards. You look at the people behind the business. When you're talking about business plans, those are some of the things you look at. So if your context, the environment, is not going to let you do that business successfully, then you need to think twice about it. Or think about a model. Mm-hmm. Think a model that insulates you from those problems. So look at your business model again. Something to look at. Okay. I gave an example of being a clearing agent in Nigeria. There's no way you can dodge doing some of these things. So why go and be a clearing agent? Why don't you use your intelligence somewhere else? You are smart. Go and apply it somewhere else and you make money. All right. So
Yes, thank you so much, sir. I
well,
like what you said.
trust me, you can do it. If I have done it for 31 years, you can do it. Honestly.
Awesome.
Godwin Akpan, let's hear from you.
Good day, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, you
Yes.
are.
All right. Thank you so much. It's an honor, and I appreciate your time with us. So my question is not like a question. It will be a question. Let me put it that way. So now I'm basically into digital services. I do websites, and then one of the things it's a real life situation from one of my mentors here in Akwa Ibom, Nigeria. There was this particular gig that came in for the State House. So one of the ministries actually. So now for him to do a website for the ministry, and then we did a quote and then sent it to them. And then when we got there, we were told to add extra money. We were told to add, some extra figures. We're like, is this thing? Is this what you want to give? He said, yes. I add extra zero, extra zero. And my boss added extra zero and then taking it to the next level, like next office, like for it to push through. That one also now says you should add extra zero. So like in this situation, like, what are we so like if it was me, because it wasn't me, it was my mentor. If it was in my shoe now, like I'm kind of confused now where I'm going to find myself. I'm good in this thing. And then luckily for me, I have this connection to do this thing. You get, but now you're now telling me to add extra stuff. And most times this stuff, before it gets to the top, the zeros may be too much, and then the contract will not come again because maybe it might be too high. I may look as if you yourself, you're trying to get too much from them, not knowing that it's the process persons that are, making things to be too high. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Godwin. You know what? We have lived too long in this system that we just feel that it's not the right thing. It's the bird frog syndrome. That's what it is. We've lived too long in it. I have a friend, a lady who used to be our bank manager. She came to visit us once. And she said she quoted to do some training somewhere. And she gave him a price of 2 million naira to do the training. This may be about 10 years ago or more. They called her and asked her to add 2 zeros, 2 million to 200. She shouted, "Blood of Jesus." She ran away. She didn't go back to the office. She abandoned the training, left everything. So let me tell you how corruption, actually you're laughing, 2 million to 200. She ran away and didn't come back. So you need to learn to say no to those things. You have to learn to say no. Do you know something? For that 198 million that is fraudulently moved out, you and I are losers. Because that hospital, we all are going to fall sick one day. We're human. That hospital that could have saved your life, that they could have built with that 198 million, could not go ahead because you colluded with somebody to use the money to embezzle the money, and now he's driving nice cars, he's flying around the world, he has a house in London. The day you have an emergency, that hospital is not there. Do you know that you are the biggest loser? So I think it's time that we begin to see corruption like that. That when we help people inflate contracts, money exchanges hands. This is money that could have been used for you and I. Let's look at it that way. Money that could have been used for your children to make sure they go to good schools. Then you are helping somebody to divert that money and eat the money. Are you not hurting yourself? Let's face it. Think about it. You don't have hospitals, you don't have schools, you don't have power, because we have collaborated with these people too many times to steal our money. It's about time we start to think differently. You have to be selfish about it and say, you know what? This money is my money. I'm not going to help you to steal it. The money belongs to me. my children, my cousins, my brothers, our generation. We're not going to let you steal it. The more we help them steal the money, the poorer we are. Don't you think about it, Godwin? Godwin, on mute. I want to hear your views. Godwin, please, can you unmute? Godwin, can you hear me? Aaron, you can
Yes,
join.
yes, I'm with you, sir. I'm hearing you,
Please.
sir.
Oh, Godwin, tell me, don't you feel that you are being cheated when that happens? Is it not your
So
money
it's
they're
true,
using?
very big, with extra figures. So it's true.
They use your money, they go and be dashing girlfriends outside. They don't use the money for good things. They don't use the money for good things, trust me. They are living from hotel to hotel, carrying women. I'm not saying they shouldn't have girlfriends,
Yes,
but
sir.
they should use their own money, not your money and my money. They are free to do what they like with their lives, but not with your money, our common wealth. Trudy, when we're growing up, we could drive from Benin to Warri in 1 hour. Go and try it now. 4 or 5 hours you are on the road. We're not even talking about security. Population is growing. GDP per capita is reducing because our income is not growing. Population grows by 2.5% every year. So the money that the government has to spend on each person, to Godwin or to me, is reducing every year. And we are helping them to eat the money. Why should we? It's very easy to say, oh, it's my turn. But guess what? The day there's an emergency. I mean, there's a story that some people they used to ask them to go and inspect aircraft before they're brought into the country. Right? Rather than go and inspect the aircraft, they just go there, they give them money to go out to London and go and shop. They shop and come back. My brother died in a plane crash in Nigeria. So whether that plane was supposed to have been inspected and was not inspected, and money exchanged hands, I lost my brother in a plane crash. So what am I saying? When we aid and abet these things, it will still come back to haunt us. Let's think about it like that. Aaron, please, can I hear from you? I'd like to know your thoughts.
Okay, thank you, sir, for this opportunity. Actually, for very first time, I've never heard of somebody who candidly speak of corruption the way you've done. Throughout our time, we've thought like corruption is like part of life. For person to succeed easily, we've taken like corruption is part of us, and I think this is the right time actually, and this is the right information for us. Maybe just to request, like maybe to Mr. Jude, I think we will maybe consider this to be part of the module, because as much as we're empowering us as entrepreneurs, but we are also engaging in things maybe that are not helpful to us, because I'm like thinking of, yes, I've invested, but there are things I'm doing that are not helpful. Maybe this could be part of like that's a module for us, and also maybe in the near future, our guest of today maybe can consider like doing like a civic education, because we are living in a generation that thinks corruptions are right. Because from just our homesteads, I've seen from our localities, parents when sending children maybe to the shop, you always tell them, go buy this, when you come back, I will give you this. And I think that's corruption. So corruption in our country, like let me talk as a Kenyan, it has begun from home. Parents, we are like the one who are exercising corruption, we are encouraging corruption. And this thing has like grown beyond repair. Everywhere you go, in any office you knock, somebody always ask you, lunch, do you have tea? You want to be served, do you have lunch? So sometimes you miss things because the essential services you cannot be given it, because you're not given tea, you're not given lunch. And I think this is the right information. Unfortunately, it's going to a few people, but if this could be maybe the gospel in the maybe in the near future, have that model of the same, and also maybe like our guest of today, preach this gospel to more Africans, because I think people who are more affected are Africans. And let me talk of Kenyans, because Kenyans are like, you can always be qualified, but you not be given opportunity because you've refused to pay bribe. So for me, I wouldn't even bother to ask a question. This one's just like an eye opener to me. because for many people I've spoke to, including even church leaders, they also like encourage corruption because there's like there always is like,
Harold, it looks like we've lost you. Okay. Can everyone hear me? Everyone else hear me. So I asked a question in the chat section. What does success mean? What is success only about what you have in the bank? Let's face it. Why do you have to mortgage your conscience because of money? When I have these conversations, I come back home, I can't even sleep because it's on my mind. It weighs heavily on my mind. I can't sleep. So how are you? You're happy to pay. You don't want to take the difficult roads. We just want to do will we ever change if some of us don't come together and fight this problem? Really? So what does success mean to you? You have to ask yourself that question. When you're old and gray and it's time for God to call you home, when you look back, what do you want to see? You want to see somebody who was giving bribes to police, giving bribes to this? Go and ask old men who are on their deathbed. Ask them how important the money they made was. And you need to start to ask that question so that you can know what is important in life. It's not money. It's not money. Money is not the most important. But the interesting thing is that when you do the right thing, you have enough money to spend, enough to do your basic things in life. Enough. Okay, so money is not the beginning and end of life. It's not. All right. Is it Alex now, or who's next?
Alex.
Okay, thank you very much. This is a very wonderful session. I think it's very timely. And I think all of Africa and for our generation needs to hear you. It's very inspiring. And the problem that we are in as in Africa, I think the basic reason is because of corruption. And we think it is part of us and we cannot do anything about it. By hearing stories like this is very inspiring and will cause us to know if one person can stand against it and is able to survive, we can all do it. And by a lot of us hearing your story, I think the change can start from there. My question, I want to get your take on this is what is your take on after you have gotten the contract, executed the contract, you give something, maybe a hamper or something to the people who awarded you the contract. I want to get your take on that. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Now, big organizations, they have rules surrounding gifts. Sometimes they put a limit that the gift should not be more than $100 or the equivalent, or $50 at Christmas. Or you go and give somebody a pen, or you can't go and give somebody a Rolex wristwatch and you say it's just a gift. So there's a limit to how much or the value of the gift that you can give them. Let me tell you what it is when you go and give $10,000 to somebody who gave you a contract. It's a bribe in advance for the next one. That's what it is. Yes, he didn't ask for it, but you just go and visit him and say, "Oh, so how are you? Oh, madam, it's summertime. Please take this envelope and for vacation." You are preparing the ground for what? The next job. So when Trudy goes there and he doesn't give his envelope of $100 or $10,000, when the next job comes, who will they give? They won't give Trudy now. They say, after all, he's not going to come back to say thank you. So we want merits. We want things to be done. Why? So when somebody has paid a bribe, he doesn't care. He doesn't do the right job anymore because he knows that he has paid already. That's why your roads are bad. That's why you have to be patching your roads all the time because he has paid people that. So I want to let you know that As long as you continue to take bribes, give and take bribes, you are destroying the society. You are destroying the society. And who suffers at the end of the day? I've heard of some ministers, governors who have had accidents. Some of them have died on the road because the roads are bad. I'm sorry, I want to ask, who built the roads? Who paid for them? Who ate the money that was supposed to be used to build these roads? So would you rather spend your money traveling around the world and, God forbid, the day you have an emergency, no hospital to treat you? At the end of the day, what is life? Really, what is life? Integrity is doing the right thing even when nobody is looking. Nobody's looking at you, you are alone. But are you doing the right thing? You have to set yourself. That thing you are doing today, if it was on the front page of newspaper tomorrow morning, will you be proud of it? Ask yourself that question. Then you will know whether that's the right thing to do or not. So Godwin, if these zeros you were adding, they were adding, the next morning is in the front page of this day newspaper, will you be proud of it?
I will not. So
That's the litmus test. Anything you are doing, ask yourself, if this thing is in the front page of newspaper tomorrow or is on channels television, am I going to be proud of it? We need to make those sacrifices today for a greater tomorrow. It might look like a loss, no. But the more of us that are doing it, in fact, if 6 of us are tending for a project and 6 of us refuse to pay bribe, what happens? It becomes a fair process. All of us refuse to pay bribe. The client has no choice now. Okay, if Trudy wants to build a hotel in Lagos, is he going to collect a bribe from the contractor? He won't collect a bribe, because if he takes a bribe from the contractor, what happens? He's increasing his upfront costs. And he borrowed money to build the hotel. He's now paying interest on the bribe which was given to him. By the end of the day, he has to pay for the hotel. All right? So we are stakeholders. Government is us. We own the country. By padding and padding and padding, we're hurting ourselves. Allowing ourselves to be used. You know, they can't pad alone. Let's face it. They need lawyers, they need bankers to help them launder this money, because illegal money. So once we refuse to collaborate with them, they can't move this money out. All right? So more comments, more questions. By the way, I need Soji Apampa to come out. No, when they need to join the soft skills training that we're having next month. I will send the link. Soji will speak again. Anytime I've been listening to Soji for the last 10 years, no, 5 years. We have 2 soft skills training every year, May and November. So we're having one next month. Anytime I listen to him, I am challenged. Sometimes I want to weep. Sometimes I feel I have not done enough. I have to listen to him. He does this work all over the world. He's known for it. Soji Apampa of Integrity Organization. He talks about it. And it challenges you. You ask yourself, really, have I done enough? Can I be doing more to stop this thing? And the more of us that toe this path, the more we're cutting back at corruption, and the money can be put to good use. So spread the gospel. Ask your friends to join. Get them to listen. Mobilize them the way we mobilize for NSAS. The way in Kenya has mobilized to fight their government recently. Mobilize the same way. And let it be a fight against corruption. Let's all stand strong and fight against corruption. Now, Sename has just shared the link online for you to be able to join the soft skills training. There's a link she just... Sename, I didn't know you were there.
Igbuan, we have Deborah.
Deborah, over to you, please.
Hand up for a while.
Okay, good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon,
Hello, Deborah.
everyone. Yes. Okay, so I have a situation at hand whereby in the educational sector, we will be asked to, like in school, we'll just hear that, we're supposed to pay a certain amount of money to a certain lecturer. If not, we won't be able to pass the course, no matter how much you have written. I know you have written well. So I remember when I was in school, we used to be kind of afraid because we noticed that even if you write well, you end up not passing. Yes. So you have to just contribute little, maybe 1,000 naira, everybody actually in the whole department. And those that wouldn't want to do that will end up failing. Now, when we came out of school, it didn't happen to all lecturers though, but let's say most of the lecturers, when we came out of school, the ones that didn't want to, that ended up having so much carryover, ended up regretting that they didn't pay for it. So sometimes I think there's even one person that wanted to commit suicide because he got into the class and he was feeling frustrated, feeling like um that he's a failure, even when he knew that he was reading well and writing well. In that situation, I want to ask, are you trying to say that paying the money, of course I know it's not good, but didn't it just, how would I put it, stop the regrets in a way?
All right, thank you, Deborah. In fact, about an hour before we started this session, I had a chat with some of my, my people on my golf group, WhatsApp group. Does third class, let us start from there. Does third class define who you are? Let's start from there.
No,
Third,
it doesn't.
thank you. So let's just agree on that. Do you know you could have sent that lecturer to jail? Do you know that? Haven't you heard of lecturers who have been sent to jail for doing this thing you are saying doing? All you need to do is to set him up and record everything and go and report. That guy will go to jail.
But
So
in a situation
wait,
like that,
Deborah, say, hold on. You are not ready to fight for this thing. That's why you're not ready to fight. You want to take the easy route. I've given you examples of how I gave up projects. And when I was giving up those projects, sometimes we didn't even have money to pay salary. We're struggling. You have to make a sacrifice. All of you have to make that sacrifice rather than looking for the easy road. Easy route. You're looking for the easy route. But at the end of the day, you're hurting yourself. So if the man asks you to come and sleep with him, you will sleep with him and to be able to pass your I'm sorry to say, you're a woman. You need to protect yourself. What about if the man says if you don't come and sleep with him, he will not pass, allow you pass? Would you go and sleep with him?
no, I
So when you
wouldn't.
report him, you set him up, record the conversation, and report him to the authorities. Report to the police. Right? Oh, you guys are the owners of social media now. Your age groups, you are the owners of social. Post the whole recording online. You think that guy will not lose his job? Let's face it. If you record a conversation and everybody confirms that this is Trudy's voice, God forbid, I know Trudy will not do that. But I'm just saying that Professor this is his voice. Post it in online, Twitter, this, you make noise. You're not ready to fight. If you're ready to fight, that guy, you take him down. You take him down. Trust me. You have the power. Now you have social media. You embarrass him. Immediately you start embarrassing him like this. The VC of the school will say, wait a minute, what's going on? What's going on? You mean this guy is doing this in this school? They will set up the disciplinary committee. They will discipline him and fire him. Even if all of them were doing it before. But the fact that he had been caught. Do you know you can do that? What are you afraid of? What are you afraid of, Deborah? Think about it. Another hand is up. Is it Clemens?
Yes.
Yes, I had a question.
Go ahead, please.
Yes, how do you appreciate someone who has helped you get a contract and it has paid well? How do you appreciate that person so that he doesn't see that you are kind of bribing him, or it doesn't look like a bribe, but you just want to appreciate him for considering you for that job? Thank you.
Okay, Clemens, I have a question for you.
Yes.
That person that gave you that job, what is his role?
Maybe she is a CEO of that company, and you
Okay.
went to him or her asking for the tender, and maybe you are talking something different, but she brought that up and offered you the contract. If you want, you can do this. If any, you can apply, and you end up winning the contract. So you want to appreciate that person for the effort or for trusting you to give you the contract.
Were you qualified?
Yes.
You are qualified.
Yes.
Did you get preferential treatment?
No.
No, you are saying that they helped you. You got so you see, the CEO, that lady, has the responsibility to ensure that their jobs are given to good contractors. That's part of her job. So if she identified Clemens as somebody who can deliver that job properly, she's just doing what? Her job. Now, over Christmas, if you want to give a hamper of a reasonable value, that's fine. But giving cash, giving bribes, it's not something we do as a company. Because when you start it, where do you stop? And like I said, it's a bribe in advance. All right? So I don't encourage it. I don't do thank yous. I will give you an example. I was in church one day, Judy, and then somebody was preaching. They were preaching about tithing that month. And then somebody said, for example, when somebody gives you a contract, this the guy preaching, he said, when somebody gives you a contract, you come back to say thank you. So tithing is almost like that. You know, my head almost exploded. My head almost exploded in church. So if somebody on Friday was being offered a bribe and he refused, and he went to church on Sunday and he heard this, what will happen? On Monday, we go to work and say, please bring the money, bring it, bring it, bring it. Am I correct? He asked for it. So somebody talked about the church earlier and religious houses. Sometimes they preach the wrong thing. Guess what? The next Sunday, I went to church again. And then they now had something like a town hall meeting. All those people who have preached for the last 4 weeks, they brought them together to do quick Q&A. I saw an opportunity to give them a piece of my mind. So I raised up my hand and now told them that, in my opinion, that thank you was a bribe in advance for the next job. And people were clapping for me. So sometimes people are afraid to shake the table. They don't want to offend the pastor. I told them what I felt. So we need to stop this. Let's stop pretending we're destroying our continent. We are. That's why we're so backward. I'm not saying that there's no corruption in other countries in the Western world. There's corruption. But when they catch them, they deal with them. They go to jail. No matter how big you are, if you do the wrong thing, you go to jail. But in Africa, in fact, what I'm hearing now is that some people serve jail term on behalf of others. So even when they get a judgment against them, somebody else will go and serve the jail term for them. All that needs to stop for Africa to get better. Thank you. Next question. Yes,
Igbuan, there is a question in the chat. Beryl, did you want to come on and ask it, or should I ask it on your behalf? I see you had a question in the chat.
Please go ahead.
Oh, I can see it. Don't worry. How does an employee speak to a corrupt employer without losing their job? How do you handle this when your business partner, who is critical to the success of your venture, brings government functionaries to ensure your business advances? Okay, there are two questions here. Let's talk about the employee first and foremost. You are better off quitting that job. You see, in Construction Kaiser today, we learned hire for values, train for skills. So we'd rather go with somebody that has the right values and then train him on the job than to hire somebody who has the skills and then has the wrong values. You know why? They're going to destroy the business. What am I saying to you? If you're in a company, right, that is corrupt, you better leave. Try to change them, But if they don't change, you leave. That's not where you belong. Because you see, as an employee of a company, your values need to align with your company's values. It's not everybody. In fact, there's some people who their values don't align with ours. And I'm happy to let them go. Happy. So
you muted yourself,
yes,
Igbuan.
the second question. Just a minute, let me get some water. I just want to get some water. Just a minute.
Trudy, I meant bribe, not brings. I have just saying it now. Yeah. When the other person bribes government functionaries. Thank you.
So you can correct him when he comes back, or give him a...
I'm back.
I'm incognito today.
Okay, I'm back.
Yeah, I just wanted to correct the second question.
Go ahead.
When the other person bribes government functionaries. You're right. Quitting that job was the best thing. I eventually did that and had some peace.
Okay, so the same thing with business. When you have a business partner, you must have the right values. Oh. I talked about my wife just now. My wife is my partner at home, isn't it? But then we have the same values. You cannot be doing business with someone, have a business partner that does not share your values. That, for me, that's a mistake. Then when it's time to bribe, he says, oh, we must bribe. You say, no, we shouldn't bribe. You continue to have tension. Go your separate ways. Do business with people who share your values. If not, you're going to run into trouble. It's as simple as that. There's no compromise. You try to change them. If they refuse to change, in fact, in the first place, don't even get into that into that business. That's the first thing. But if you do find out later that your partner, try to change that person. If the person doesn't listen, you have to find your way. Honestly, I encourage people who don't share our values to leave our company. Honestly, as good as the person might be, please, if you don't share our values, please go. You might go somewhere else, find somebody who shares your values. You will do well there. It's okay. You can go. I don't feel any sense of loss. Same thing as a business partner. All right. Do we have any more questions, or are we done? So please, you need to attend our soft skills training. Please. Soji and Pampa, in fact, I'm nowhere near him. You will do soul searching after you listen to him. Soul searching. When you search yourself, you feel challenged, and you will know that it's possible. It is possible.
Thank you, Igbuan. I have posted the link to that training in public forum. So anybody who's interested, you can click on it there. Igbuan, I cannot thank you enough for such an engaging session. And as you heard from Haran, we heard you. We will look into the creation of an ethics and integrity module, because it's truly critical given the culture and the environment in which we find ourselves. So, but again, Igbuan, this has been a very energizing and inspiring session. Thank you again for your time. If you all could, by using of emojis, demonstrate the appreciation you have for such an energetic and informative session. We will certainly be coming back to beg you for more. So hopefully that will be okay.
My pleasure.
For us and come back yet again. So thanks again. And everybody, we typically have a survey that we conduct. If you could please respond to that, I'll post that in the public forum within the next minute or two. So please take a moment and complete the survey so we can know what worked, what doesn't work. This is towards our effort of continuing to improve what we bring to you. And what we're doing well, because if we don't know what we're not doing well, we can't tailor these sessions to meet your needs. Thank you, everybody, and have a wonderful day. Again, Igbuan, have a blessed one.
Bye-bye.
Be well. Bye now.